Yeah, I can't.
Because I've been cut already. I like
Nobody.
I can see his
Bummer. I know. We should.
Make sure I sign one anyway. I'll sign.
Pittman, yeah, has got something special. I think he's got. Welcome, guys, to the Gridiron Gurus. My name's Keith. This is Jesse. This is presented by Famisphere, and we are very welcome to have on our show a guy that's doing something pretty cool. He's going to every stadium, trying to watch a game at every stadium at the Division I, FCS.
And FCS, yeah.
So to me, that is so cool because I've only been to a couple of different stadiums. So I'm kind of interested to see what you say about some of these, what you've done so far. But I'll let Jesse take it on from here.
Well, I mean, I've got some questions here, but just kind of, give us a little bit about you and where this came from and like what really started this journey.
Yeah, so my dad played college football. He played linebacker at University of Pacific, which is a school in Stockton, California. They don't have football anymore. He also was at BYU, and growing up, football, obviously, like most kids, was a huge deal. That's how me and my dad spent quality time together. I live in California, and the cost of living here is very high. So a few years ago, I took a trip to Colorado, was exploring possibly moving. And when I was putting around, I ended up in Boulder. I made a stop at University of Colorado. I visited their stadium. I walked around campus and I enjoyed it. I went an hour north. It's Colorado State in Fort Collins there. And I did the same thing. And it was a really enjoyable experience. Each school has mostly they have a bronze mascot statue. So I got a photo with Ralphie at Colorado. I got a photo with the Ram statue at Colorado State. And, there's that TV show Amazing Race. And I thought, hey, maybe how many colleges are like this? And so I did some investigating. There's 130 colleges, and I just tried to make a game out of it. And since then, I've been visiting colleges and going to games, since 2017.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Like me and Keith had talked about it at one time about how it would be. We're Tennessee fans. First of all, just throw that out there. Yes. We're in deep depression, but we've talked about how cool it would be. Have like a bucket list, so to speak, of SEC games to go to. You're doing a full-on, a massive bucket list for every college football fan, going to all these games and things. I just are you documenting this or anything? Are you keeping a video log for for the YouTube series? I know you got a YouTube series that you started.
Yeah, I definitely have kept track of every game that I've been to. So officially, I'm at 109
Wow.
FBS schools. There's a couple that my rule is if you get a new stadium, you come off the list. So I've been to Idaho. They're no longer FBS. Now they're FCS. So, it's a constant motion, but I keep track of it on Twitter. That's the main thing. We were talking off air. Sometimes it's hard to get clicks on other exterior websites, but this is, you guys are talking about being Tennessee fans and going to games. The premise behind this whole thing is everybody loves to travel to games. And the idea is it resonates with everyone. And so I call what I'm doing the Blitzkrieg version, which is going like crazy. I never intended it to be this way, but it just works out. When they have MACtion games, Tuesday, Wednesday for the MAC conference, the Fun Belt games, they're Wednesday, Thursday. There's a lot of opportunity to stack games. So it's just kind of like, my dad has a saying, it's if you can conceive it, you can achieve it kind of thing. And so I try to just put that into reality and, plan it out. Fortunately, I work in real estate in California, and you can work hard in the off season, and then being self-employed, you can take some time off. But yeah, I mean, anybody that's thought about going to the game, just imagine doing that on a, countrywide scale. And that's pretty much where I'm at.
That's awesome. I could hear your love for college football when you're talking. You hearing him reference, MACtion, Fun Belt. That's really cool. So to play off that, you talked about. I noticed you released your schedule on Twitter for this upcoming season, and there are maybe all of them actually, but I noticed a few of them. Those dates where you're going to 2, sometimes 3 games in the same day. How are you able to accomplish this? Are you taking flights to get to stadium? Or once you get to an area? I noticed most of them are on the same day, or relatively close for the most part. Are you taking like an Uber from place to place? Like what are you doing to get there?
Yeah, everything is on the table. Air, land, sea, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll do it all. But I'm at the end, meaning that I have 21 new stadiums left, and so it makes it a little bit easier to plan because those are anchors, right? So I work around those anchors, and some days you want to hit a noon game, you want to hit a 7:30. You have to see what's possible. So I am flying. I mean, like I said, I live in California. Especially last year during COVID, there were only certain spots in the country that were allowing fans at the game. So a lot of places that I have left didn't allow fans last year. So, I'll give you an example. There's a Friday night game at Coastal Carolina versus Kansas, and I'm trying to get to the Ohio State-Oregon game the next day, and it's at noon. And so, you can want to do that, but you have to find flights. So you fly into Myrtle Beach. There's a 5:55 a.m. flight on Saturday morning that gets into Columbus at 8:57. Columbus Airport is only 12 miles away from Ohio Stadium. You can do that. Michigan is playing Washington at 7:30 in Ann Arbor. It's a 3-hour and 15-minute drive. I'm thinking, okay, if the game gets over Ohio State, Oregon at 3:30, maybe I can make it. I mean, I even put a joke tweet out on Twitter. I'm looking for an Uber motorcycle service because you guys have been to games, especially at Tennessee, 100,000 people. What happens when you leave the game? You can't get out of the stadium parking lot. So I thought, hey, if there's a motorcycle guy that I could hire for 50 or $100, I'll jump on his back, park at a Walmart parking lot 2 miles away, get out of traffic and try to do that. So, most of what I do in the off season is try to game plan routes and see what's possible. And part of the reason I put out my draft schedule early is to see what I can do. Other game times pop up. There's limitations, but yeah, it's all trial and error. But like I said, right now it's a little bit easier because there are 21 schools in the fall that I need to go to hit my goal.
How hard is that planning? Keith, I don't mean to keep. How hard is that planning at this time when a lot of games they don't have like a set time for kickoff until we get closer to the season start?
That's the hardest part. I mean, they have a 12-day rule as the season goes on, which is they don't have to announce the kick time for up till 12 days till kickoff. And, the way that, I don't know if you guys have been looking how much travel is boosted up since, we're clearing through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Rental cars in the beginning of COVID, the companies sold off their inventory. They haven't replenished them. Now you're looking at, $150, $200 a day for cars. So having more lead time to plan is going to save you money. In the first couple of weeks of the schedule that I put out, you could see some double headers on Saturday. That's because I know the kickoff times. But after week 4, it's kind of guessing, and so you just kind of look and see what might be going around it. But yeah, the planning part is hard just because you want to, if you're flying from California to Boston and you're going to see a game, you want to maximize it as much as possible. So if you can squeeze in Harvard at the same day as you go to UMass, you just made your trip that much better. So it's a combination of putting in the work, but also making sure that when you fly somewhere, I look at it like I may never be at that place ever again. I really want to maximize my time there.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. I've got tons of questions. I could keep going, but I don't want
to. You're fine. My thing was, when you look at your schedule and you can see that, like a Michigan, Ohio State that's going to be playing, and they do that every year, but, you can kind of guess, hey, that's going to be more of a primetime game. That game will probably be played at, 7 in the evening. Just kind of knowing how college football works, knowing where game day might go, kind of guessing that. Does that help you at all in your scheduling?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain places like, for example, there's a big uproar because Nebraska and Oklahoma is at 11 a.m. on that day, and they wanted to have a day's worth of people in town eating, drinking, and they're not going to be able to do that. So, but over the course of time, the Cotton Bowl has always played that game. Texas, the River Rivalry is always played early. You talk about Ohio State, Michigan, that's always, West Coast, it's always the 9 a.m. game. So, you try to look at historical trends. The thing that has made me get to the number that I'm at so quickly is these weekday games. So, if you can hit a Thursday ACC game, a Friday Pac-12 game, and then end up somewhere in the Big 12 on a Saturday, you just knocked off three. And, if there's, let's say 14, 15 Saturdays a year, and you're just going on Saturday, you go into one that's 15 per year, it's going to take you 13 years to knock them out. But if you can do 3 or 4 on a weekend and times that by 15, now you got something going. But
Right.
it gets harder and harder as time. There was a last year, there was a week where the only game that was on the schedule that was new, was North Carolina. North Carolina's governor was only allowing 7% capacity, and I ended up paying $725 for my ticket to go. And
Wow.
Wow.
yeah, I mean, for a regular season game against Wake Forest. Otherwise,
Oh.
I would have fell behind. So I felt a lot of pressure to do it. This year is actually going to be a relief because it's all mapped out. But yeah, you try to work within the confines and see what you can do and do your best.
Well, you talked a little bit about, if you're at, Ohio State and then you want to get to that Michigan game that's, 3 hours away. How much does that cut into actually trying to get the whole fan experience at some of these stadiums? Because, you're obviously on a time crunch, but you also want to spend time at the campus and kind of take in everything that campus has to offer because, like you said, every campus is similar. Like everybody's got a bronze statue and
Right.
this and that, but they also have differences. So how much are you trying to balance between trying to get between places and also try to take in the fan experience?
Yeah, so for the ones that I'm trying to do ambitious doubleheaders like that, those are going to be repeat schools for me. I don't want to cut short in exactly what you're talking about. I want to be able to experience the whole place. Sometimes I have to. I've been to these places a lot, and just because I haven't been to a game sometimes doesn't mean that I've gone to the bathroom in more student unions than probably anybody I've been to basketball. So there's another one the week after. There's a noon game at Temple playing Boston College, and there's a 7:30 game at Penn State versus Auburn. And I would love to go to both. It's another 3-hour window. I went to Penn State for the whiteout in 2018 versus Ohio State. I got to experience that, but I haven't got to experience Temple. So when I do that trip, I really want to spend time at the Temple campus. Unfortunately, they play at the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium, which is my pet peeve when college teams play in a pro team stadium. But you can still go to the campus; it's still nearby. But I agree with you. I want to put as much emphasis on the campus visits, the tailgating, as I can, and then if I can squeeze in a game at a repeat, even if I cut it short, it's worth a trip.
Right.
So I feel like at some point, by the time you finish this journey, you're going to end up on a late night show or something somewhere. First of all, remember your guys here at Gridiron Gurus, please.
Throwing out the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's cool that we got him. We got to him first. Okay?
Right.
We got him on here on our show first. Have you been approached yet by anybody? Like, I really fully expect to see you on College Game Day. I'm not even gonna lie. At some point this season, I expect to see you on College Game Day. Has anything been mentioned or anything?
The TV show Shark Tank. That's kind of what I feel like. I kind of feel like I have a product that is attractive to people, that is interesting, but I just haven't got in front of the right person yet. I do work with a good group, CFB Home.
Yeah.
They're on Twitter. They have over 50,000 followers. John and Shaler and Mike and all those guys, we're great. We work great together. but it's one of those things where it's kind of that classic. It's not what you know or who or what you know or what you're doing. It's who you know. And so, I am like the small version of game day. Just the very small. But the angle that I try to go with is, you see Kirk Herbstreit, you see all these guys. You can't talk to them during the game, right? So for me, part of my angle is I'm going to live tweet during the game. I'll give you an example. I went to an FCS playoff game against, it was James Madison, North Dakota, a few weeks ago. And I was reading tweets, oh, what a terrible punt, or they can't do this, they missed a field goal. Well, being in the stadium, you could feel the wind. It was really significant. And so there was a punt and it checked up short and it ended up hitting the back of one of the punt coverage guys. And then it was a live ball and they recovered it and everybody's criticizing it. And I was trying to tell people that I was interacting with on Twitter, I'm like, being at the stadium, you know how much this is impacting things. So I try to offer that angle to people, be accessible. You're watching the game at home. I'm watching the game. We want to watch the game together. We can't be together, but we can talk. That's kind of the way I look at it. But yeah, I mean, this is a hobby. If it popped and something came out of it, that would be great. But the thing I love about, this traveling and having a hobby is it's fun. And every time you go somewhere, these college kids, they give you energy, it's like the first time you've ever been, they want to show you that. So hopefully something will come out of it. I thought about like doing like a coffee table book, maybe like 130 pages with each stadium and each little statue going there. But I'm open to anything that comes my way.
Well, it just hit me as you're talking about, anything popping for you. I was sitting there thinking it'd be kind of a cool book to see from you. You talk about a coffee table book, and I might just give you an idea, but you might go conference by conference, and yes, from the Power Five down to the Group of Five, FCS, NAI, however far you go down with this. But I was sitting there thinking it'd be kind of a cool book to see, and that way, if you're doing a 130, 150 page book, if you did it by conference, you could get a little more detail with what you've seen, what you experienced, kind of likes and dislikes with those.
I was thinking, like, I can see the title of his book now, Around College Football in 130 Stadiums, kind of like Around the World in 80 Days,
right?
Something like that, play off that. We have a group, a college football group, much like CFB Home, which we'll give them a shout out. I see them doing some really cool things. But we have a group called Fanosphere, which is what this show is presented by. And what that means is fan atmosphere. That's where we got the name for Fanosphere. And it kind of plays on what you're already doing. We want to spotlight all the different college fan bases because, college football, the joy of college, like what makes college football what it is the fan experience. The fans really make it just a unique sport. What would you say is the best fan atmosphere that you've experienced so far? I know you've not been everywhere, but so far, what's been the best?
Yeah, the thing that I like about, we talk about college football, why it's so great. You're never going to hear Alabama say, hey, if you don't improve our stadium, we're moving out of Tuscaloosa and we're going to Mobile, right?
Right.
I live in Northern California and we lost the Raiders to Las Vegas. The Warriors went across the bay from Oakland to San Francisco. The Niners went from San Francisco to Santa Clara. And the A's are a free agent and people want them. So, you get that loyalty. You also get you have skin in the game, right? You graduate from school. You have a child that attends the school. You're an administrator, all those things. And, I was at a game, everybody would Alabama. It reminds me I was at a game versus LSU at Alabama. And there was this woman, she was, in her 70s next to me, and she had her little pom-poms, and every song that came up, she was singing them, and she was into it. And I'm just thinking, where can you get this wholesome thing where a person in their 70s is at a sporting event and feels just as connected to anybody else? So, I thought that was really nice. I mean, the best, like the two most intense environments I've been in, Texas A&M, I was there when they played Clemson in 2018. They have cadets on the field throwing up hand signals to the 12th man. The 12th man is on the second and third deck above the sideline there, and you could literally feel their presence on the field. So that atmosphere, you're playing 12 men. It really feels like that. The nastiest place I've ever been was Kentucky. They played Florida in 2019, and that crowd was out for blood. And trust me, I loved it. I mean, I loved it. But they had just went to the Swamp and beat Florida the year before. They were winning almost the entire game, and Felipe Franks got injured in that game. That's the first appearance of Kyle Trask, and he played great. They won that game, and I remember sitting next to this guy. He was there with his wife and his daughter, and he had the most non-masculine scream that I ever heard. And I looked at his wife and his kid when they lost, and I really felt sorry for them going home with that guy at the end of the game. So, you just looked at the intensity that it brings out. And then just on the positive side, I went to the Hunter Stadium that I went to was at Georgia Southern in Statesboro, and that was an incredible experience. I did a dip in this place. It's called Eagle Creek, and it's supposed to cleanse and purify you. The seniors do it when they graduate. I did a TV interview when I was there. The game was fun, and I actually they have a cannon that they fire on the field with the ROTC, and I got invited to fire the final shot, and I did that too. So, you could go anywhere from Tuscaloosa to Statesboro, and all across the country, you're going to have great experiences.
Wow, that's awesome. I remember that Kentucky Florida game, and there was a joke going on about how Kentucky is it that they actually do something good and they're able to get Felipe Franks out of the game, and then here comes Kyle Trask. So it was kind of funny.
There would be no Kyle Trask if it wasn't for that.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you, Kentucky. You've been to Neyland Stadium, right?
Yes.
I'm curious, what game did you go to at Neyland Stadium?
So I went last year, and we're in the COVID year, and it was against Kentucky, and her QB there threw 2 pick-six in the first quarter, and they never recovered.
Yeah,
so,
we know.
Oh yeah, we know that all too well. That was.
Yeah,
I should have asked that question.
I spent a lot of time looking at the river and but but it's the same thing. Like
gosh,
people ask me, what do you think about the Swamp? But I need to go back to some of these places because I went during COVID. But I mean, Neyland Stadium, I've been there before, and I use the word cavernous, right? That place is just gigantic. And so to see it striped out, I would love to go back. But that was the game that I went to.
Well, we're going through some things right now. We just had a divorce. And,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
We've been on multiple divorces. We're still paying the settlements. Yeah. Give us a little time.
The alimony checks are still coming out. The bank account doesn't look like it should.
No.
So we would love to have you back. Probably in a couple years. Hopefully, Heupel has it back. And like you said, you've been to Neyland before, but I've been to Neyland. One of the last games I went to was we played Kentucky, and they had the running back that now plays for the Steelers.
Benny Snell.
Benny Snell.
Right. Benny Snell.
And I can remember being right next to the band, and Benny Snell was warming up, and the student section was just giving him, a hard time. Him and I think the quarterback were warming up, and the student section, and he turned around and kind of, did this, to them, and the boos started and all this, and then we ended up coming out. I think Garantano threw a Hail Mary right before halftime to Callaway, and scored a touchdown right before halftime, and that place just absolutely erupted. I would love to have you back there whenever it's at full capacity, 100,000 fans just losing their minds.
The best one I went to was a packed house against Oklahoma in 15. I think it was 15. We played Oklahoma.
15 or 16.
I think it was 15. And the decibels, like it was like 103 or something like that, I want to say.
Wow.
There's TVs underneath the upper deck. If you sit like part of the stadium, you can sit on the lower deck, and it goes up under the top deck, and the TVs cut out. It was so loud, like all the TVs just cut out. Wow. And it was crazy. Craziest game I've ever been to. A buddy of mine and I actually had to text each other because we couldn't hear each other right beside each other. And of course, we ended up Tennessee in that thing. We were winning the entire game, and in the fourth quarter, we gave up a huge lead. Went to overtime, and then Josh Dobbs threw that pick to Sanchez in the back of the end zone. Right. So
it
is what it is.
I back and watch that. They had Baker Mayfield, they had Sterling Shepard, they had I can't remember the running back's name now. He's in the pros as well.
Yeah, Perine was the
Samaje Perine.
Yeah.
I actually went back not long ago and watched that, and it's kind of amazing to see the amount of talent that was on the field at that point. But it was a really good game.
But yeah, you definitely need to come back to Neyland Stadium. Actually, I'd love to meet this guy at Neyland Stadium. You need to come back and go to a game with us at Neyland Stadium. That'd be a really cool experience.
I'm looking forward to when I'm done with this season. I joke the shackles are off, right? I don't have somebody say, "Hey, come to the Tennessee Florida game." I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, I got to go to New Mexico State UMass," right? So it won't be like that next year. So I definitely will take you guys up on your offer.
Absolutely. Yeah,
we would love to do that.
Love to have that happen. Well, that was kind of where I was going to ask my next question is where does it go from here? Like once you hit every FBS and FCS, do you dip into D2 and NAIA? I mean, because I would imagine this is probably a Guinness record of some kind. If anybody has done what you're doing, there's not many. I doubt there's anybody, but I guarantee there's nobody that's went to every level.
It's I don't know. In my personal life, I don't like to be a collector because what happens? You can never get everything, right? You can never do it. But what happened threw a little wrench in it this spring was the FCS season. And before the spring, I had like 7 FCS stadiums, and now I have 30. And, it's like, well, why don't you just go for the rest of them? Well, there's 127 FCS schools, 130 FBS. That's 257. We got about 15 Saturdays per year. You're talking about, 18 straight years. So I don't know yet. I still have a passion for this. I have a lot of friends that, I have friends at the University of Hawaii. They're getting a new stadium and they're playing on campus. So I'm going there. They just, get invited. I grew up in San Diego. The Aztecs are building a new stadium right there. So you're going to go back and do it. So I love football at all levels. I do what I call as a campus or a stadium visit, for a new stadium. And before I go on a trip, I'll go on Wikipedia and you can look at college football programs in blank state, and it will have FBS, FCS, D2, D3, NAIA. Then I'll start to look and see, do they have a football program? And they do. And then I'll start to see, Google their stadium and then try to make a route and do that. So I don't know where it goes from here. I don't see it stopping. But 70, I'm 97 short on FCS, and that will take a while. And the thing about FCS in the lower levels, they primarily play on Saturday. So the strategy that I've had to go through the FBS so quick, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday games, like you can't do that in FCS, which limits you a little bit.
Right. That I honestly I'm sitting here thinking again. I see talking about where it goes from here. I see multiple books. I see you writing multiple books about this. Like this is just so cool.
It is.
I
It's
have
really
a ton
neat.
of material. It's just completely unorganized. So hopefully in the off season next year, I can get with some writer who's smart, who knows how to organize it.
Yeah, perfect.
It's pretty cool how what you're talking about doing. My wife and I, right before our daughter was born, we did what people call a baby moon. I got to go. I surprised her. Bought tickets to a Dallas Cowboys game. And it's not far from Baylor University and where the Magnolia Farms is for Chip and Joanna Gaines. So I surprised her with that. We went to the silos, and she had a great time. But in the process, I didn't really realize that Baylor was as close to them as originally I thought. So when we left Magnolia Farms and the silos, I said, "Hey, let's go look at the stadium." Because it was just a big stadium on the side of the interstate. And I thought, let's just go by and look at it. So we drove by, and Baylor was actually at, I think, Texas Tech at that Saturday. So we actually walked right up to the gates, and I said, we could probably sneak in and get into the stadium. We didn't because we seen some grounds crew on the field. But we was right there, and then that Sunday went to the Cowboys, played the Vikings. It was a Veterans Day weekend, so we was able to get back to work by Tuesday. But I'm sitting there thinking back to that, and I kind of think, when I retire, and when I get to that age, it'd be kind of cool to go to do a Saturday, Sunday pro in college, that they're close together. And you kind of given me the thought of, hey, we might be able to stack games.
Yeah, the bucket list.
Right, that's what he's doing. You're ahead of me on the game, but what you're doing, man, is really cool to be able to see all this.
It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can get your wife on board with it, you're already ahead of the game. So,
fingers crossed. Hope she's
yeah, well,
watching.
I joke. It's like, say I want to go to a game at University of Hawaii, right? The game takes 3 hours. Well, what if you're there for 4 days? Now, all of a sudden, only 4 of the 96 hours is dedicated to football. It should be pretty easy to convince someone to come with you and spend 92 hours of non-football related stuff in Hawaii or in Texas like you're talking about. But sometimes it's easier said than done. But if you have her going to games already, you're ahead of most people.
Well, I think it was more of the other things around the stadium.
Exactly.
That you can set. And that's what we done. We made an entire weekend. I think we left on Thursday evening and came back on a Monday.
So come to the Opera, you're going to say no. But if they say they got like chicken wings there, then you're kind of closer to going. So you have to entice them with yeah.
But yeah, Baylor. I thought I was amazed by Baylor Stadium. I don't know if you've been there or not yet, but Baylor Stadium, just from the outside looking in, is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful stadium.
McLean Stadium that's my favorite Big 12 stadium. I mean, Oklahoma, obviously, historic, built in 1923. That one is a great one. Kansas State Stadium is really nice. But McLean, usually I trend towards older stadiums, but that one is a newer stadium. It's beautiful. I mean, the green and the yellow. I mean, it's a great place to watch a game.
Right.
What game did you watch there?
I watched them beat Texas San Antonio in. I was supposed to go to I don't know if you guys remember a game a couple years ago. It was LSU at Texas, and it was Joe Burrow. It was a huge game, and I think the cheapest ticket was $1,200, and I went with a $43 ticket at Baylor, and so I watched that game. I think they beat UT. It was something like 58-0. So I got a lot of time to look at the water and the stadium. But yeah, that is the cool thing about Texas. You talk about stacking games. There's 10 FBS schools in Texas, and so I mean, even last year I went to Austin. They played. Can't remember who they played Baylor. And then UTSA, they play in the Alamo Dome about 2 hours south, and I caught their night game too. So awesome. Texas is a great football state.
It's amazing to me all the games that you've been to, and you're able to sit here and rattle them all off to us.
That was what I was thinking. Is that we can say, hey, I've been to this stadium. I mean, the one time I've been there, I can tell you what year it is. But you've been to so many, and you're like, hey, I went to this game in 2018. They played this guy. And, you can rattle off the score, which is very impressive to me.
In all the Tennessee games I've been to in my lifetime, it would take me a while to name every one of them. Like, I would have to sit here and think, the games that I've actually went to. It's amazing that you're able to do that.
I appreciate you. Part of the reason that I just, I watched the game and I wanted to imagine myself in the stadium, and here we are,
So I'm curious, you actually have a favorite team?
A favorite team?
Yeah.
I grew up in San Diego. I grew up going to San Diego State Aztec games. In California, they don't really care about college football that much unless USC is paying players and winning national.
Good, yeah.
But, we have the LA Lakers and the 49ers and the Raiders. It's always been a pro emphasis, but I grew up going to San Diego State games. Part of the reason that I think I can enjoy this college football traveling is I don't have a dog in the hunt. Like, you guys are Tennessee fans, and you're going to go to the Swamp and you're going to be like, even if you like it, you may not want to give it credit. So it makes me a little bit. Actually, there's these guys. They're Mission CFB. I met them. They're from Iowa, and their goal is to see every team play. So regardless of where it is, and they're Iowa State fans, and they have T-shirts that they wear to games that say "neutral fan," and so it causes conversation. But yeah, I grew up. Marshall Falk was at San Diego State. There was a
Yeah.
couple big wins they had against, the U back in the day. Big rivalry with BYU in the WAC days, but I'm pretty neutral now.
Yeah. Um, that's funny that you actually mentioned that. Was going to be my next question. And I will say, if I go to a game, which I mean, I'm just a fan of. We both are just fans of college football. Like I mean, I'm a Tennessee fan, die hard, but I just love college football. There are some teams that I'm like, But if I go to the Swamp, I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. As much as I hate Florida, I will admit,
Right.
I'm going to enjoy it. And I will be wearing Tennessee orange. I don't care a bit to do that. But that was my question: is when do you go to these games? Do you immerse yourself in the fan experience as far as like team colors, or do you just wear like a neutral color? Like what do you usually go?
So I went to an Arkansas game a couple years ago, and when I go and do the campus stop, I do it in a shirt. You can't really see this, but this is Coastal Carolina in the background. I have a Coastal Carolina shirt that's with
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, so I buy a shirt at every game. And so, sometimes I'm taking that statue photo an hour and a half before kickoff, and maybe I don't have another shirt. So I'm usually walking in with the home team stuff. And so I'm at this Arkansas game, and they're playing San Jose State. And San Jose State is probably 40 minutes from where I live. And I got an Arkansas shirt, and the game's not going the way that Arkansas had hoped. And the crowd was yelling, "At least we're not from California," right? And I'm sitting there in an Arkansas shirt from California. Should I be going at 88,000 people, or should I sit here comfortably in my Arkansas shirt and just blend in? So I decided not to go against the grain. San Jose State actually beat Arkansas in Arkansas, that was a payday game where they got the money and they got the victory,
Yeah.
which
Right.
you never want. But yeah, I during the spring, I got connected with fan bases at South Dakota State. They have, tailgating was not allowed. So I met them at 6 a.m. at what they called the book club. And I had all, South Dakota State gear. So yeah, I sometimes it's neutral, but I'm definitely not wearing the road team colors in the home stadium if I don't have to.
No,
That's a business decision, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it
that's
is.
just a business decision.
More stadium and not have that be my last one.
Right.
It's funny though that you have Coastal Carolina in the background. We actually just did an interview with Jamie Chadwell, their head coach, who's actually an East Tennessee guy, which is really cool. He grew up just a few minutes down the road from where we're at. But what game did you go to at Coastal Carolina?
I've been to a couple. I went to, I know they got beat 48-7 against Louisiana. I went to that one. I think it was 2019. Last year they played an FCS school, Campbell. I just went to that. I have a lot of friends that I met at Coastal Carolina. And then they played in, I think it was called the Cure Bowl in Orlando last year. It was a neutral site game, and they played Liberty.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
That's
actually
awesome. That's a great game to be at.
That was and I was supposed to be at the Sun Belt Championship, and I was sitting in a truck stop parking lot in Huntington, West Virginia, after the Conference USA game, and they put out a message on Twitter that the game got canceled because of COVID. So that's a big controversy. If you guys follow that, there's a big controversy behind Coastal Carolina canceling that game. So I've been to two, and then I'm planning on going to their game against Kansas on September 10th.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty cool. I'm out of questions. If
I
you
mean,
got
I
any
could
more.
sit here and ask questions all day long, but we've taken up enough of your time. I have the last thing at the end, which is 5 and 5. I will say though, this has been one of the more fun interviews we've done. We've done some really fun interviews, but this has been really cool just to hear your experience. I'd love to have you back on, maybe during the season, to see how your journey's going and stuff. Like I said, you're going to be on College Game Day. I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. And matter of fact, I might clip this and tweet this at College Game Day just to kind of spark some interest there.
There we go.
But you're going to be on College Game Day, so just remember you guys here at Gridiron Gurus.
I'm going to try to bring you guys with me. That's what I'm going to try to do.
There you go.
Seriously, would love to have you whenever you're done with this whole journey. Would love to catch up with you at a UT game. It'd be a lot of fun. I
Absolutely.
think Tennessee's got Ohio State in a couple years on
think
the
so.
docket.
I think so.
Maybe we'll be good by then. I'm not holding my breath for that.
No.
But either way, it'd be
As
a cool
long as we
game
don't
to
have
go
another
to.
divorce.
Yeah. Anyway, so we always we do a live show every Thursday, and we end every live show with what we call a 5 and 5. We take a category, we do a top 5 list, and we try to do it in 5 minutes, 5-ish. Keith, I can see you looking at me, 5-ish. I usually run over. That's why he's looking at me. So I went ahead. Normally, I put people on the spot. Your case, I didn't want to put you on the spot because it was a little difficult. So what I did is I gave him a top 5 list of the top 5 games that he's been to since starting this journey. I can't wait to hear this list.
All right, I got my stopwatch going, so I'm going to stay in your 5-minute window here.
Okay.
So number 5, Texas A&M at UCLA. Texas A&M was up 44-10 late in the third quarter. 95% of the people at the Rose Bowl left. I had driven from Northern California to Southern California, so there was no reason for me to get back into LA traffic. And Josh Rosen threw 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and they came back and beat them. One of the most incredible comebacks, and it was a season opener on a Sunday Labor Day game. So that's number 5.
Wow.
Number 4, I touched on it a little bit, was the whiteout at Penn State. It was Ohio State at Penn State in 2018. That was the Saquon Barkley, McSorley team. They were very good. They were up 13 points in the fourth quarter, and Haskins led 2 fourth-quarter drives and hit KJ Hill for the game-winning touchdown. And they silenced 110,000 people. I never heard anything like that. It was like the sucked all of it out of the room. So that would be number 4. Number 3 is the game that I say is the most fun I've ever had at a college football game, which was the 2018 American AAC Championship. It was Memphis at UCF. And Darrell Henderson, who is the running back for the Rams, he was on Memphis. First half, I think he ran for 204 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he threw a touchdown. And this was the first game after Mackenzie Milton's injury, and they had that Daryl Mack was started. And they came back and scored 5 touchdowns in the second half. Daryl Mack had 4 touchdown runs, and I think it was like 56-44 was the final score. That's Bounce House. That's when you found out that it's the Bounce House.
I think that game was a rematch, too, from earlier in the year they played, and it was a great game then, too.
Yeah, it was.
That was the first one with the track meet also. Yeah, exactly. So number 2 was it was a Thursday night game at West Virginia, Oklahoma at West Virginia. It was Kyler Murray versus Will Grier. And West Virginia was trying to win to force get another rematch against Oklahoma at the Big 12 championship. It was 52-52 with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I literally sat there and I was like breathing, like, can I make the rest of this game? And fortunately, Will Grier also gave up 2 touchdowns, himself to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma won. But that was an incredible scene.
I remember watching that one too.
That was amazing.
Was in playoff contention.
Right.
Yes, if they won that game, they would have got an appearance in the Big 12 championship and played Oklahoma again.
Yeah.
So, and then number 1 for me, I mentioned Texas A&M. That Clemson at Texas A&M game, it was 2018. It was Kelly Bryant started, and that was the first real appearance of Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And they, Texas A&M wasn't even ranked, and they threw everything at him. Kellen Mond, those guys, and it ended up being 26-24, and Clemson or Texas A&M went for 2, and they didn't get it, and Clemson escaped 26-24. That's the best game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember watching that game too. That was a great game. Every one of these games that you just mentioned were great games. Mm-hmm. That was a great 5 and 5, by the way. You just rocked that.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did a lot better than you do in your 5 and 5.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man, I really enjoyed talking to you, and like Jesse said, I'd love to have you back on. At some point in the season, just talk college football. How the games are going, how your journey's going. Really look forward to seeing everything that you accomplished with your journey, man. I really have enjoyed this.
Absolutely. And one of the side benefits, you got to look at COVID for something good, but it put us in this Zoom world and we're connecting with people maybe we wouldn't have previously.
Absolutely.
So, I appreciate you guys reaching out. The way you guys approach me and this has been a great experience, and I hope everybody follows you guys on Twitter, and I'll be happy to join you later in the season, and hopefully I'm on track to hit my goal.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, it seems like you've got a good plan ahead. I'm still impressed with how you stack games and make it a priority to try to get as many in as you can, but also spend time at the campuses and enjoy what each school has to offer.
We're doing the best we can. So far, so good, and we're not. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to keep going.
Exactly.
Well, we sure appreciate you. Like I said, thanks again for coming on, and can't wait to have you back and see how your journey's progressing.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it, bud.